Hello, welcome back to the Evolution of Mom. I hope you liked last week's episode with Kevin Palmieri. We got into some beautiful conversation on holistic views of community, boundaries, goals, success. Oh my gosh, so many things. It was a very enjoyable episode to be a part of. And I hope it was an enjoyable episode for you to listen to as well. And it's got me into a lot of thinking along the lines of health, happiness, and of course, hormones. Hormones are a bit of my niche and my background. And I've got a lot of mind, body, and soul into these three H's, I'm calling them lately: health, happiness, and hormones. And I think it's because those three words are the biggest things that I have worked on to get from where I was to where I am now. And obviously, those are three very big, vast, deep topics that you can dive into individually and dive into yourself and self growth individually. But I deeply believe that they all interact with each other, and one's success is another's. They deeply come together in almost a community. Your external environment affects all three of these deeply, and so does your internal environment. And I believe that if we have harmony between all three, we can have harmony between all three. And that's been on my mind and heart the last little bit. And I did a poll in my Instagram stories recently where I asked, where do you feel like you need more support right now in your health, in your happiness, or in your hormones? Now, don't get me wrong. I know that like your health and your happiness mess with your hormones in a positive or negative way. Your hormones completely affect your health and your happiness. It's like I said, it's a community, but I asked them in an individual way. We don't need to get into, how much they come together just yet. But a lot of people said happiness. They're needing support in their happiness. And I know there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of reasons that we feel unhappy, unfulfilled. And, the world is also in a very strange place, which can put us all in a very weird state of unhappiness and just unease, to be honest. But that is something that, for the most part, is out of our control. I did an episode a few back, don't remember the number, but it is called something along the lines of, sticking with what you have control over. And I think that would be very applicable here. If you haven't listened to that one, maybe go back a few episodes and have a listen to focusing on what you can control versus what you can't. And when it comes to our happiness, again, we have a lot more control over that than we give ourselves the power to believe. Our happiness is very dependent on us. We love to look for external things to make us happy. We love to look for external feelings, people, things to make us happy, which is okay. As long as we understand that deep down and in the grand scheme of things, it has to come from within us for it to be a true, sustainable, healthy happiness. Are you waiting for something to be happy? Are you falling into the trap of, I'll be happy when? I'll be happy when this person stops or does this. I'll be happy when I have a person in my life. I'll be happy when this change happens to me, to my body, to my financial situation. Are you falling into the trap of, I'll be happy when? It's something to think about, because a lot of us do tend to fall into that space and into that trap. But if you haven't, there are a lot of stories out there, successful stories of people coming into money, making money, losing weight, getting the body of their dreams by working hard. These people have worked hard for their goals. But at the end, they hadn't lost that feeling of that heaviness, that weight. They hadn't gained that happiness they were looking for. This is very common, which is why a lot of those things, when they're reached, if you don't do the inner work first, they're not sustainable. You hear about people coming into money all the time, but they can't sustain it because they haven't evolved into the person that has that kind of money. Same with physical health. Have you mentally evolved into someone who can be in that physical space? Or are you going to lose it? Or are you just going to keep it and not be happy? Even though that was the thing that was going to make you happy. That's why you were striving so hard for this thing, or maybe holding on to relationships or grabbing relationships that maybe weren't aligned or serving you, because that's what was going to make you happy. Our happiness lies within us, and we have to be able to find that happiness before those things. We can strive for big, beautiful goals like that, but we have to be able to find happiness along the way and within each step to get us there. Don't get me wrong, we can have moments. We can absolutely have moments where we dip and dive and we're not so happy, we're kind of miserable, but we can pick ourselves up is the difference there. We're not going to give up on our goal because we had a little bit of a pity party moment where we didn't come out of. We have to be able to find that happiness before we get there. Tools that can help you are being able to look at your life right now and see beauty, see things you are grateful for, see things that make you happy. Writing a list of these is very helpful. Gratitude practices are very, very helpful. Writing a gratitude practice every day around something that happened in the last 24 hours is a very useful tool, because what it does is it teaches your brain to start looking for those things that you're going to write down the next day. Starts showing you more of those moments to be grateful for because it knows you're looking for them. It's that reticular activating system again. It's going to show you exactly what it thinks you want to see. And as you progress and fall into this habit more, the more you're going to be able to see that you're grateful for. It's a beautiful practice to be able to build happiness in your life now. Another perspective is to ask yourself, and I wrote these down because I wanted to make sure I got these right when I wrote them down earlier. What actions and thoughts are you doing that support the belief system that you have? So the belief system you have right now is I'll be happy when. Okay, so what in your day-to-day is keeping you in this belief system? What are you doing that is reaffirming that for you? What are you showing your reticular activating system or telling your reticular activating system to look for that is feeding this narrative, that's feeding this belief system? Have I told you guys that belief system stands for BS for a reason? It can be such a load of bullshit that your mind has been trained to tell you because this is what's kept you safe and alive so far. Anytime you step out of that, it's like, whoa, we're doing something different. We've kept alive up until now doing these things. Now we're doing something different. So you have to go through those little hurdles as you're doing a gratitude practice. Let's use it. For example, your brain might start talking to you about, okay, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. I don't need to sit here for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, write down 3 things. Like I can just look around. I can see a few things, or do I even need to do that? There's going to be this whole chatter that happens as you start new positive, perspectives and habits, but that's normal. Embrace that. Talk to your brain if you have to. Say, hey, actually, this is something we're trying to improve our life and improve our mental state and improve our happiness. So this is actually really safe. This is something I really want to do. So let's just try it out. Do you guys do that? Do you have conversations with your brain? I totally do now. And it's actually really helpful. It really is. And so that's a perspective that you can look at. My belief system right now, the story I'm telling myself right now is that I'll be happy when. What in my day am I doing to prove that that's true? And how can I make that shift? The next one is to think about what happens if you don't change that narrative. What does that look like for you if you continue along the lines of I'll be happy when? Does that look like a long road of being unhappy? Is that something that you're excited about, something you would choose? I'm going to say probably not, but sometimes we don't look at it from that perspective. What does changing this narrative do for me? What happens if I don't change? And then how would it feel? And what would I be capable of if I shifted this belief system? What would my life be like if I could find happiness every day? If I wasn't waiting for whatever it is to happen, the I'll be happy when, What would it look like if I wasn't waiting for that? And I can still be excited about that. I can still work for that, but be happy along the way. What does that look like for you? What does it look like if you don't? Perspectives, questions to mull around in your brain. These kinds of things can be the most beautiful tools to shift. Is just shift our perspective. It's just asking ourselves questions and doing little positive shifts along the way. You all know that I'm very obsessed with the idea that small, consistent action makes big change over time, as opposed to just throwing yourself in to 100 things at once that are going to overwhelm you and you're going to shut down, and your brain is absolutely going to tell you that this is terrible, it's stupid, it's not worth it, don't do it. Small changes. Trick that reticular activating system into looking for new things that make you happy. Write that gratitude practice that makes you look for things in your day to be grateful for. If you're looking for happiness in specific areas of your life, maybe your career is going very well, but maybe your relationship at home isn't. Pick 3 things in 24 hours or whatever comes to your mind. Sometimes we need to fish a little bit if we're in, a state of rockiness, to write down about your partner. 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that make you happy, past, present, or future. Vice versa. Your relationship and your home life is beautiful, but you need to be able to find happiness and gratitude and a different perspective in the job that you go to every day, which maybe you're working towards changing, which is a beautiful goal as well. But in the meantime, how can you make it positive along the way so that you don't have this misery in your life every day? And then working around what it is, what it looks like if you don't make those changes. That's always a hard one for me. That's a big one that always hits me in the chest. Oh, I don't like what that future looks like if I don't make this change now. That was a big one for me, especially with my health and just falling into a place of, well, this is my life, this chronic illness, this pain, this is my life now, this is where I am. And to really sit with, is that true for me? Does that feel okay for me? Does that sit well with me? What happens if I accept this as my reality? What does that look like in my future? Well, it looks like more illness, because the more things we accept, the more stories we tell ourselves, the more we create. So does that look good? I had to ask myself, and I was like, no, I don't even want to be as sick as I am now, let alone worse. So how do I make those pivots? Where can I make some small changes? And that's where diving into health, happiness, and hormones came in for me, because mine was very hormonally related. But honestly, our hormones run our entire health, like in some way, our mental states, everything. And you can use that to your advantage. You can absolutely kick up a dopamine response or a serotonin response or an oxytocin response in your body to get those happy habits flowing. Dopamine is created when we do embrace an enjoyful experience, a joyful experience, and really take it in. Hey, I'm really enjoying this moment. Let's embrace it. Let's notice it as a moment of pleasure, joy, happy, fun. Laughter is another big one. Oxytocin is a really good one too. Connect with someone in a beautiful, emotional way. That kicks your oxytocin up and just creates this positive habit in your body for producing those hormones. Serotonin's another one. You can trick your body into producing these more by creating more joyful, happy experiences, being present and embracing them when they're happy, and then writing about them later in your gratitude practice. See what I did there? Yeah, you get it. So are you diving into the pit of I'll be happy when? And how can we shift that for you? Make those lists. Take in that perspective of what happens if I don't change. Start the gratitude practice. Start looking for things that are beautiful in your life. I guarantee you, when you dive into these things, you'll be able to find beauty in everything. You'll be able to find lessons instead of failure. You'll be able to find happiness in things, even when you can't see them right away, but when you reflect on them. And it just builds. It's like a muscle. You just build it. Short and sweet for you today, but this is the perspective I'm diving into because I realize it's the one I've had all along is health, happiness, hormones in harmony, all the H's. So there's going to be, I think, a lot from that perspective coming your guys' way. And I realize now that, you know what, as Charisse and I were building this, and then now on my own, I haven't gone into my story as much as I probably could of why this is all even relevant and why I'm here and doing the things that I do. So that's probably coming at you over the next little while is Amy's story, why she's here, why she's talking to you about these things. Love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this time for yourself today. I'm so grateful you're here, and we'll talk soon. Bye.